Radio is being presented locally by St. Barnabas Health System, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Balcones Moon Township Ford, Dr. C. Timothy Lip, and Beaver County Radio.
Five, four, three, two, 1, 0. All engine running.
Rush Hour is just getting started on Beaver County Radio. It's time for Driving in the Fast Lane with Frank Sparks. It's the show that talks about what's happening in the news, locally, regionally, and nationally. There will be guests, and Noah Haswell will have the news at the top and bottom of each hour. And now, here is the host of the show, Frank Sparks.
Hey, good morning and welcome in. Today it is Wednesday. It's hump day. It's April the 15th. It's tax day, too, if you haven't done your taxes yet. But you're not going to hear me talk too much today about anything other than a couple cool things. Number one, we're going to start out. Brandon Antinopoulos is here from Forward RX, and we're going to talk with him in hour one as he makes his monthly visit. And then in hour two, Charlie Dirt is in the house, and we'll be having garden jargon and talking about all the different subjects that are good with gardening. He'll be here to take your answers as well. Are you frustrated by high copays? And he'll be here for all that. So we'll have that from 11 to 12. So then we'll have, tomorrow we'll have open talk for you from 10 to 11. But today, it's all about hanging out and having fun. And I like these days, Brandon, because I don't have to do any show prep on these days. You did it all for me. You got it all written down here.
Hey, here's what we talk about and anything else. Me too. Again, this is like my monthly therapy session, just to come and get out of the pharmacy, enjoy talking to you. So I always look forward to this time too. So I appreciate it.
Well, who's the lovely young lady you brought with you today?
Yeah. So I have with me on rotation at the pharmacy is Julia Lazaris. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Julia Lazaris. I'm currently a fourth-year pharmacy student at the University of Pittsburgh for about 3 more weeks. I graduate May 1st. So my last rotation with Brandon has been great, and happy to be here today.
So how long have you been with Brandon now?
So each rotation is 5 weeks.
5 weeks,
so this is like 4.5 today.
Yeah, this is it.
Well,
Friday's the last day.
Last day, Friday.
And we're going to send her out the right way.
Pizza party.
Hot dog shop.
Oh, that's even better. Okay, that's even better.
Yeah, any student that comes to visit or does a rotation with us, we at least make sure that one time they got to get the hot dog shop. But otherwise, lunches have been Capico's a couple times right there on the corner. Quality time and carry out's one of my favorite spots in New Brighton. So getting lunch there, but we got to make sure if you come to the county, we got to have it. Yeah, we got to send you out the right way.
All right, so we got a debate going on, and since you've been a long time connoisseur of it, chili and cheese or just cheese dogs?
Oh, I'm a chili and onion.
Chili. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Chili and onion. My wife's chili cheese.
That's me too.
Yeah, and then my son, he's 9 years old. He's starting to do both. I think he's going to be a chili cheese.
What about on the fries? Just regular cheese fries, chili and cheese fries?
Chili and cheese. Okay. Yeah, for both of us. Yeah, chili and cheese for both of us.
Oh, boy. Is this going to be the first time you ever had a hot dog shop, too?
It will be.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, you have to let me know.
I'm worried because I feel like I have hyped it up a lot. And as you can see from this, this conversation, this is like a staple of Beaver County. So, but no, it's I don't know what the magic is with that food, but it's it is.
Do you like milkshakes?
I do.
Oh, they've got the thickest milkshakes around.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They're really good and thick, and my favorite one's the peanut butter one.
Oh.
I've never had the peanut butter.
It's very good.
Someone there talked me into the banana one not too long ago.
That one's good, too.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it would be, but it's smooth and good. So, all right, well, so you're graduating from Pitt.
I am.
All right. So what are you doing after graduation? You already got something planned?
I do. So next year I'll be doing a residency at the VA in Butler.
Okay.
So it's a 1 year. It specializes in what we call ambulatory care. It's like mainly outpatient care. So I'll be doing that for a year and then see what jobs open up afterwards. Yeah.
Where are you from? You from around here originally, or?
I'm not. I'm from the South Hills of Pittsburgh.
That's from
Elizabeth,
around here.
PA.
That's still
Well,
Pittsburgh. You
The
know?
Pittsburgh area,
Yeah.
sure.
I meant like, you're from like Timbuktu or something.
No.
You know?
No, I'm
Okay.
from South Hills of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
We have our own hot dog shop called the Red Caboose.
Oh, I know about that.
Yeah.
I used to have a cleaning business. I used to eat there all the time.
Oh,
Yep.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good hot dogs. This South doesn't. Don't worry. It does. All right. So what got you into pharmacy?
Really, I got into pharmacy. I always knew that I liked healthcare. I liked caring for people, but didn't know, like, none of my family's in healthcare, so didn't have any pre-exposure to pharmacy. And then one day I Googled a list of healthcare professionals and read down the list, got to pharmacist, and I was like, medication expert, like, that's kind of cool. So then I had some experience with my grandma starting medications. She was put on insulin when I was in high school, and like teaching her how to use the insulin pen and the like dose adjustments and stuff I thought was really cool. And so then did like a pharmacy camp through the University of Pittsburgh and have loved it since.
Oh, wow. So what's your degree going to be in when you graduate?
So pharmacists get a PharmD degree,
Okay.
so it's a like doctor of pharmacy degree, and then I also have a bachelor's in pharmaceutical sciences.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, super smart. She's also a fantastic leader of the association. So in the Pennsylvania Pharmacists Association, she's on our board of directors as one of the student board of directors representing all students, members within the association on this side of the state, on the western side of the state. So it's been fantastic. We're certainly gonna miss her, but we know she'll do fantastic at the VA in Butler, and hopefully, shortly after that, opens up her own pharmacy.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
I've definitely been inspired. So
coming and working with Brandon at Ford RX, how has that, the Ford pricing, how has that, like, tell us a little bit what your thoughts about that are.
Sure. Yeah. I think I had a high level understanding coming into the rotation. I've known Brandon through PPA and stuff like that. So understood what cost plus meant on a high level. But it's been really refreshing and really nice to see the impact that he's actually having on patients and being able to provide care to patients that normally would get like uninsured patients or patients with high deductibles that would have got insane prices on their medications that are now super affordable. Like last week we were talking, there was a patient that came in, she had just had a heart attack in the hospital, called about her medications. She was started on 4 medications, and I, went through, then got the price for her for the 4 medications, and it was like $86, $85, and she was so happy. She's like, oh my goodness, you just made my day. Like, could not be happier. And then she asked, like, is that a 1-month supply? And I said, no, that's for a 3-month supply.
Wow.
She's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like, it made probably what was one of the worst days of her life just like a little bit better knowing that she could afford her medications. So seeing happy customers, is always a great thing.
One of my favorite quotes yet in the first week of the rotation, towards the end of it, is someone's leaving. She's like, "This place is like a Hallmark movie. Like everyone comes in and smiling,
That's
everyone's
cool.
talking. Like I've
That's
never
cool.
seen that in a pharmacy before."
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I'm going to be in the neighborhood Friday, so I'm going to have to swing by. What time do you leave Friday?
Usually I leave at 4 p.m.
Oh, okay. I'm going to be over there around 2, so I'm going to have to swing by and see how you like the hot dog shop.
Yeah, I need to know what camp I'm in. It's a big decision I'll have to make.
Chili and cheese or chili?
Okay.
Brandon's out. Chili
Chili
and onion. Jeez. And your wife don't yell at you for eating chili and onion?
No.
Okay. I'm just, you just aren't getting no kisses that night, right?
Exactly.
So, well, where were you yesterday? Yesterday was normally your day, and you were kind of gone yesterday. Where were you?
No, I appreciate you adjusting the schedule. Yeah,
Sure.
So we were in Harrisburg yesterday. Our state association, the Pennsylvania Pharmacists Association, once a year we have a legislative day where pharmacists, technicians, and pharmacy student members, we all go to the Capitol, engage with our elected officials about, issues impacting patient access to pharmacies, pharmacy pricing, a whole host of concerns. So we were at the Capitol meeting with the legislators, kind of letting them know about one specific bill we would like to get passed. And it sounds like there's a lot of support. I know the local legislators that I talked to here support it. It would basically move any state-funded prescription benefit program, the biggest one, namely Medicaid. Really, it would change it to a pricing model that we do at Forward RX. So it would change all the state benefits to a cost-plus model. And by doing that, other states have done this. Namely, Ohio was one of the larger ones within the first year that they did this about 6 or 7 years ago. Their state saved $330 million in the first year alone of their Medicaid program. And even by doing that, they were actually able to pay the pharmacies more, or like appropriate, since the pharmacies in PA don't get paid enough to dispense the prescriptions. But the pharmacies were able to get paid more, and the state was actually still able to save money. And that goes in line with everything that we talk about how our model works, particularly with generic medications, why our regular price can be much less expensive than even someone's insurance copay or anything like that. So what we're hoping for is that we could adopt this similar model in Pennsylvania. West Virginia's done it. They saved, I think, close to $60 million their first year.
Wow.
Kentucky's done it. They saved $238 million, I believe, in their first year. So there's just, more money's going into the healthcare system, less is actually getting paid out to the people providing the care. No one wants to tell you who actually has what. They're all pointing their fingers at each other, but it's all getting wrapped up in the middle somewhere. So this would hopefully save the state a lot of money, as well as preserve access to community pharmacies, since many are closing due to the lack of reimbursement, and that's just creating a lot of headaches for a lot of people. So it's cool that we've been able to implement this pricing model from a self-pay standpoint, regardless of what insurance anyone has. But it's cool to see other states, and hopefully Pennsylvania would do the same, that they would essentially copy our pricing model for all the Medicaid benefits and any other state-funded programs, so that pharmacies could both do what they do best and take care of people and do it in a way that covers their overhead, but also is going to save the state a lot of money.
So what are some of the hurdles that you're facing at this point?
Yeah, so since, it sounds like from legislators, like they're on board with this, in our experience, it comes down to the state actually, implementing it. We've been trying a lot to show, the state and like the departments overseeing it, what other states are doing, and bring to light how much money they could save. I think there's this mentality that like, well, Pennsylvania's different. That's not happening here in Pennsylvania. We run a pretty tight ship. But I think now that all these other states are doing it, really you're just opening up Pennsylvania to say like, hey, open business on making a lot of money in our system the way it is if we don't change it and keep the status quo. So, since we haven't been able to convince the state to take it upon themselves to implement these changes, it looks like it is going to require us actually passing a law to force it to happen. But at least that way, if we do this, and I encourage everyone to contact your legislators, support this change. Or if you have questions, honestly, call in or stop down the pharmacy and give me a call if you have questions. But other states that have done this, it's saved them a lot of money, and it's helped to keep pharmacies accessible and keep them open. And I really hope that we don't lose any more pharmacies than we've already had. I think there's 1,100 pharmacies closed since 2020 in Pennsylvania. I think was the stat. There was 1,100 pharmacies that have closed. Namely of those Rite Aids.
I was going to ask, has it been big box stores or has it been mainly, small hometown pharmacies?
Yeah, I think until Rite Aid closed, it was mostly independent pharmacies. I mean, some of the chains have been closing their pharmacies too, in certain areas that they just deem that are not profitable anymore. Usually, even for the chains, the dispensing prescriptions at a loss was kind of their way to get people in the door to buy over-the-counter products elsewhere.
Right.
But as people are doing that less and less, I think they're just justifying the closure by, it's not profitable for us to keep all these pharmacies open, that we're going to let them go. So it's certainly not an issue that's unique just to independent pharmacy. But yeah, once Rite Aid went under, that caused a lot of issues with pharmacy access. We have towns and even our area that don't have a pharmacy at all since Rite Aid closed, and most of those prescriptions got saturated into other pharmacies that now, as we've heard, has just been a poor experience.
Mm-hmm. Now, with the current administration the way it is, do you think that it'll be able to be passed through this current administration, or?
I think it'll be able to get passed.
Okay.
Yeah. And even if it's not this session, in a future session, again, the support's there. This is something that both Republicans and Democrats alike support. And actually, on the House bill, Rob Matzey, representative in our area, he's the prime sponsor on the House bill. And the co-sponsor is Katie Klunk, I believe, a representative, Republican representative in the central part of the state. And so there's definitely enough support for this. The question I think will come down to is will the state implement it as designed after it gets passed? That seems to be where a lot of the hurdles are. But my hope is that with enough bipartisan support and co-sponsorships on the bill, and with enough of that to go through, sends a clear message that why would you try to hold this up or not have this happen, because it's working so well in so many other states.
All right, if you have any questions, you're welcome to call at 724-774-1888, 843-1888. We're going to take a short break, and then Noah will be along with news, and we'll be back with more right after this here on Beaver County Radio.
How would you like to have your own credit union office right in your living room? Or maybe next to your desk at work? This is Andy Dangle from Freedom United Federal Credit Union. Oh, don't worry. I'm not going to take up residence in your home or start tagging along to work with you. But what I'm talking about is even better. Introducing mobile check deposit from Freedom United Federal Credit Union. Think of it this way. When your phone is in your hand, you can deposit checks anytime, anywhere. Stop in and ask for details, or download the Freedom United mobile app today and send us a direct message. Think of it as carrying your favorite Freedom United tellers in your pocket, ready to help you deposit checks from the convenience of your mobile device. Now that's what I call getting more freedom in your future. Freedom United Federal Credit Union, member NCUA, equal housing lender.
If you own a company or a small business, you might have considered advertising on radio. It's smart because radio is still the most far-reaching media outlet today. WBVP and WMBA can get you results. Get more information at beavercountyradio.com.
We're talking with Art Cornell from Beaver Cemetery about cemetery care. Art, can you please explain your perpetual care fund to us?
A perpetual care fund is a trust established by cemeteries to ensure ongoing maintenance of burial grounds, mausoleums, forever. We set aside 15% of the sale price of burial plots and other cemetery items. Income generated from this fund is used to cover costs like mowing lawns, road repair, and other essential upkeep after all of the remaining burial plots have been sold.
So, people with plots at Beaver Cemetery can be assured that there are sufficient funds to maintain the cemetery in the future?
Yes. At Beaver Cemetery, we have a multi-million-dollar perpetual care fund. A third-party trustee, a fiduciary, is responsible for managing the fund. Everything your family has at Beaver Cemetery will be protected by our perpetual care fund.
Folks, you can learn more at beavercemetery.net.
Back by popular demand, The Time Machine with Frank Sparks. Every Friday from 10 a.m. to noon we'll strap into our 1968 VW bus time machine and head back in time to a year that is picked out by a listener.
Tell me, doctor, where are we going this time?
We'll talk about all of the trends and listen to songs from the Hot 100 of that year. So mark your calendar to tune in each and every Friday here on Beaver County Radio.
Stages changed for Talladega. I'm Susie Armstrong. The story next on NASCAR Today.
This season, it's on.
Bring it home, champ.
On point, on fire, and sometimes on purpose.
No way!
The bumping, banging, edge of your seat, blinking you miss it excitement only found here.
They're both in the wall!
One lap, one race, one NASCAR weekend at a time.
Hell yeah, boys!
Don't miss the NASCAR Cup Series. Brought to you by Freeway Insurance at Kansas. Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern on Fox.
Put yourself in the driver's seat and never miss a second of the action with Racing Electronics. Racing Electronics scanners let you hear uncensored audio from your favorite drivers, spotters, and crews all race long. Experience team strategy, white-knuckle passes, dangerously close calls, and every second of pit road drama. Visit racingelectronics.com today. Be race ready. Be RE equipped.
NASCAR Cup Series officials have addressed concerns about teams being hyper-focused on fuel savings during superspeedway events. With that goal in mind, NASCAR has altered the length of the stages for the upcoming Cup race at Talladega Superspeedway, April 26th. The stage distances had been set at 60 laps for the first stage, with the second stage ending at 120 circuits and the checkers flying at lap 188. The revised first stage will now run 38 laps longer to 98, while the second stage will have 23 extra laps and end at 143, shortening the final segment from 68 laps to 45. I'm Susie Armstrong. This is NASCAR Today on the Motor Racing Network.
Beaver County Radio's news source. 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and beavercountyradio.com. Here's Noah Haswell.
Good morning. On this Wednesday, April 15th of 2026, we will have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette will no longer cease publishing in May because it is being acquired by a nonprofit media group that is based in Baltimore, Maryland. Block Communications Incorporated of Toledo, Ohio is the current owner of the paper, and they announced back on January 7th that the 240-year-old newspaper will cease its operations on May 3rd. However, the newspaper announced yesterday that Block Communications Incorporated is selling it to the Antinopoulos Institute for Local Journalism, the publisher of the Pulitzer Prize-winning Baltimore Banner. The sale will go into effect on May 4th. Authorities with the Beaver County Transit Authority say they will install surveillance cameras at the Ambridge Park and Ride bus stop, where racist graffiti was found on two separate occasions. Each incident was reported by a BCTA rider, Maya Cobb. Cobb spoke to WTAE yesterday, saying that all types of swastikas, kill and rape, all N-word, kill all blacks, things of that nature were written on the stop, as well as the message, "We are here, we are risen." According to BCTA General Manager Mary Jo Morandini, new surveillance cameras will be installed at the bus stop within a year. Storm damage was observed in the city of Aliquippa yesterday. The Aliquippa firefighters were busy cleaning up on the main thoroughfare and ensuring safety across the city after a few incidents occurred. Crews worked to cut a massive tree that fell onto power lines on Main Street. It fell near the junior and senior high school. Police also closed Main Street between Carroll Street and Franklin Avenue at that time. There were also several reports of downed trees along Kennedy Boulevard, Morado Road, and Kennedy Hill, and there were power outages in neighborhoods and along Burton Road. As a result of these incidents, Aliquippa School District has a 2-hour delay this morning. Emma Ackerman, a student of the New Brighton School District, recently became a recipient of the Daughters of the American Revolution Fort McIntosh Chapter DAR Good Citizens Award. Those that receive this award are recognized for their good character, dependability, service, leadership, and patriotism. At approximately 1 p.m. on Monday, the Aliquippa Police Department was dispatched to the 1300 block of Kennedy Boulevard for a reported burglary at a local business. The investigation revealed that an unidentified black male unlawfully entered the business and attempted to steal items from inside, specifically copper wiring. The Aliquippa Police Department is requesting the public's assistance in identifying the suspect that was involved in this incident. His picture can be found on our website at beavercountyradio.com. Anyone with information is encouraged to call 724-378-8000, and tips can be anonymous. Several businesses in Rochester are already feeling the effects of the closure of Route 68 between the Rochester Roundabout at Adams Street and Jefferson Street at Virginia Avenue, which happened a little over a week ago. According to PennDOT, this closure will remain in place through mid-November. That was one of the reasons for Philly Pretzel Factory closing permanently this Saturday. Rochester Turners also let a newer business, Neesmith Diner and Catering, to borrow its parking lot for customers during the day. Today is the deadline for filing 2025 Pennsylvania personal income tax returns, and some methods to do so can be found on our website at beavercountyradio.com. And former Lincoln Park standout basketball player and five-star recruit Malik Thomas declared for the 2026 NBA Draft in a post on Instagram on Monday after spending his freshman season at the University of Arkansas. Thomas averaged 15.6 points per game in his first season with the Razorbacks.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Today it'll be partly sunny and breezy with a chance of rain and possible thunderstorms. We'll reach highs near 83 and drop down to lows of 65. And tomorrow the gusty winds are going to continue along with a chance of showers and thunderstorms. Look for highs of 81 and lows of 60. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
That's a look at the news for now. I'm Noah Haswell on 99.3 FM, AM 1230 WBVP, 95.7 FM, and 1460 AM WMBA. Also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Hot coffee in the morning and Frank Sparks. Now you're in the fast lane. 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and streaming live on beavercountyradio.com.
All right, we're back here on Beaver County Radio. Visiting this morning with Brandon Antinopoulos from Forward RX. He's making his monthly visit. And also, we're going to, if you have questions, you can call it 724-774-1888 and 843-1888. And the person jumped off the phone line that was the call. See how that works? Get you all set up and then you jump off. You can call back if you want to.
That's all right. I like the headphones, you know. It's
Feels official.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So I'm an earbud guy. I know everybody looks at me weird. It's in radio. And they're like, how do you use them? I'm like, I don't like headphones. It's just not up to me. Just never have liked them. So, all right. So we're talking about some other things, and we're talking about getting legislation through on some new things. But we're going to move on a little bit, and you can comment on all that. But we're going to talk about Forxiga. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was really good.
See, okay. See, I paid attention. So let's talk a little bit about that. So there's a generic now available.
Yes.
Okay.
So Forxiga is the brand name medication.
Okay.
It's in a newer class of medications called a SGL2 inhibitor, and primarily for diabetes, but also has some benefit for those with heart failure as well as chronic kidney disease.
Okay.
And the medication's been around for a while. And prior to a few weeks ago, there was a generic of it. It was called a generic, so it was something called an authorized generic. So what an authorized generic is imagine a car company. We'll just say Lexus.
Okay.
You know, Lexus makes a car. All of a sudden, they decide to make the exact same car, but slap a Toyota label on it.
Kind of like Kia and Hyundai do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
So there was an authorized generic of Forxiga called dapagliflozin, but it was really made by the manufacturer. They just half of it went off the conveyor belt into a bottle that called it brand Farxiga. The other half went to another place for a company to call it generic Farxiga.
Oh.
And at that time, the price was lower than what it was for the brand. But even since there was only one of them and it was, still the same thing as the brand, it was still well over $300 even for this generic. If it is something that is covered by insurance, it's usually at a brand copay or a higher copay. And after deductibles are hit, we still hear from people who are paying anywhere from $40 or $50 a month for this medication. So now with last week, the opportunity for them to have it be exclusive as just authorized generic expired. So now other generic manufacturers can actually come in and make true generic medications of it. And so within a matter of a week, our price on this medication went from being, $360 or $370 a month to $34 a month.
Wow.
And this is one of the things I love about, what we do and others that do the cost plus model. When a cost drops like that, we can implement it instantaneously. It'll take months to possibly even a year before insurance companies are able to adjust their pricing. If you look at this for GoodRx right now, GoodRx still has their coupon. I think the cheapest price that they have listed is at a chain for $333. So it's very hard. Well, it's either very hard or people just don't make the adjustment whenever the cost goes down like we do. As soon as our cost goes down, our price goes down.
Well, it's like gas, for most part. A lot of places with gas, they're not going to lower the price right away of gas as it comes down because they're killing their profit margin.
Yeah, exactly. And for us, for our model, since we use that cost plus markup on everything we dispense, we can instantaneously pass that lower price on without it like hurting our business. And even after the first week, the cost has gone down even more. So now, or last week, where I reached out and said, hey, we're going to talk about Farxiga being available as a generic. Our price since, last week has come down from $34 a month down to $17 a month.
Oh, wow.
So we can basically get people a 3-month supply now of this medication for the $34. And so this is something that a lot of people have been taking for, diabetes and heart failure and chronic kidney disease, or maybe they haven't been able to take it because of the cost or the insurance issues. And so, we did have, a couple months ago, someone that was reaching out the pharmacy to look for our price on this. They were very unhappy that, our price on it, unfortunately, was, well over $300. That so much so they hung up on us, which I completely understand. We didn't get the chance to explain why it is that much. But for now, if someone like that calls or they go to our website and see this medication, we can now get it to them for $17 a month or the $34 for the 3-month supply. We've already heard from a few insurance companies that they're not going to cover it now. And they're going to prefer that you either stay on the brand Farxiga or they switch you over to another brand name medication that's in that class called Jardiance.
Okay. I've seen the commercials for that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so even though you would say, like, well, why is an insurance company doing that? These are more expensive. Like, clearly, now that this generic's available, they would want to, cover the less expensive medication.
Not happening.
They don't do that because then they don't get their rebate kickback from the brand manufacturers to put it on the formulary. So this is likely a reaction, and now there is a low-cost generic. Insurance companies, they don't like pharmacies like mine, and so they're now telling the manufacturers that, hey, we're not going to cover this. If you want us to still keep your brand name drug on formulary and not cover these generics, we need a higher kickback so that we can keep your medication on the formulary.
So when a drug like this does expire to where there can be generics made for it, are there companies like other pharmaceutical companies out there that produce these that are actually like already have it developed and ready to go because they know it's going to expire? So as soon as it does expire, boom, there they are with them?
Yeah, usually a manufacturing company that does generics, like they've applied to the FDA for approval like years in advance before that patent expires. Sometimes whenever it gets close to a patent expiring, the brand manufacturers, they'll either file additional paperwork or they'll bring lawsuits against the FDA and these generic manufacturers to try to do things. It's called evergreening is like the industry term, to try to prevent these generics from coming to market as long as possible. The interesting thing is, though, where before cost plus pharmacies like ours and Blueberry Pharmacy that we talk about and Cuban's online pharmacy, going from over $300 pharmacy's cost on a bottle down to the $17 would probably take 3 to 4 months because of how long the coverage like impacts or downstream would like make changes in the pricing and that kind of stuff. But now you have enough of us like players that price things based on the cost, where you're seeing that price drop happen in a matter of a week.
Yeah.
And that happened last year with Entresto, which was another medication for heart failure. This happened much more steep decline and rapidly with the Farxiga. And the next two that I'm hoping for, we'll see this also, is other strengths of the brand name Xarelto as well as Eliquis, those newer blood thinner medications for clots and patients at or risk of clots for irregular heartbeats. So it's to me, I think it's cool, but I'm a pharmacy nerd. I know not everyone else gets excited about it as this, but our model is actually forcing change, and you're seeing this pricing stuff happening faster in real time. And even talking about in the first part of the show or the segment with Medicaid, if Pennsylvania Medicaid was able to adopt the pricing method that we do at Forward RX, the state could instantaneously see this savings right off the bat and not have to rely on the insurance middlemen that they're already using that are doing things to delay this because it doesn't make them money.
Well, I'm sure obviously the big, companies that have the name brands are fighting it because really at the end of the day, you could put them out of business when it's all said and done, because the price being lower, if it would continue to follow like what you guys do, at the end of the day, it could put them out of business because there's a generic that's a lot cheaper and nobody will buy their drug.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they have to make sure that they have at least 2, 3 or more brand name drugs that are on patent, like in their pipeline consistently. Because they know as soon as they lose that exclusivity and that patent expires, and they've done everything they can to try to keep generics from coming to market. Once they finally realize, okay, writing's on the wall, we're going to give up on this drug and focus on either a new patent or the ones that we still have on patent. So we've already heard from some prescriber offices that the manufacturer of Farxiga that has had a patient assistance program that you could apply for, and if you qualify based on income levels, they'll send it to you for free. They've already started telling people they're no longer enrolling new patients in the program because they realize that just of how inexpensive that the generic is, that patients are going to be able to access it through that way. So they're no longer going to give their free samples anymore. They likely, usually what we see is the marketing teams dedicated to that drug, either they get let go or they stay on, but now they're put onto a whole different new medication that they have a patent for.
Why wouldn't they just lower their price to match it?
Why wouldn't they just lower their price? And there's actually some examples of this. So Synthroid,
okay, right?
Brand name Synthroid, for thyroid. Not a lot of people know about this, but they do a good job where you can get brand name Synthroid, regardless of insurance, through them directly. They partner with like a mail order pharmacy that sends it to you, but for $25 a month.
That's not bad.
So they can still make money off of their brand name medication, get it into people's hands at an affordable price. Now, I can't buy it from my wholesaler, and a bottle of brand Synthroid probably cost me $150 or $160. But for the people and that is one medication that you don't want to bounce around from brand to generic. So if you are in the brand, it's in your best interest to stay on the brand.
I can't say the generic. What is
levothyroxine?
There you go.
Yeah.
My wife's on it, but I can't say it.
We're going to get you an honorary PharmD by the time, with all these radio shows and saying the names. But but that is an example where we usually refer people to the Synthroid Delivers program because it is the most affordable option to still get the brand name. But clearly, they can still make money on that.
All right, we got a phone call. Good morning, you're on Beaver County Radio.
Hey, good morning, Frank. It's Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, so I listen to you and Brandon every time he's on. I have kind of a general question for Brandon.
Yeah, sure.
So, like, when any kind of medicine you get, my wife and I always kind of research it, right? And they always list these, like, sometimes traumatic negative effects. How do you go about weighing, when it says possible, whatever the drug, possible kidney failure or something, I think, well, I don't want to risk that. How do you determine whether the risks outweigh the benefits or opposite or vice versa?
That is a great question. And I think a lot of that, and I'll just say this off the bat. I think in healthcare, we general healthcare practitioners, pharmacists, the prescribers, we likely don't do a good enough job of really going over the risks and those side effects and how often that they happen. Usually when we look at studies or the guidelines, we're usually focused on the benefits and are just kind of like, that happens rarely. So yeah, don't worry about that. Where, someone may not be worried about that, but for someone like you said, has maybe that risk intolerance is a little different and you don't want to risk it. So I think what I try to do is just explain, here's the benefits. Yes, here are the risks. Here's how often those risks happen, or here's what we can do to either reduce that risk, or if we see that, to catch it early and maybe switch it to something else. Or can we actually treat what's happening with lifestyle change and not have to be on a medication? One of Julia's projects that she's been working on with me is figuring out a way that we can have a service to go over medications and really assess with you, like, do you really need to be on this medication? Or what is your risk? Maybe this medication wasn't risky when you started taking it at 40, but maybe now when you're 60 or 70 or 80, maybe that risk is much higher than the benefit, and we can take you off of. I'm probably one of the only few pharmacies out there that actually want to see people on less medications than more. So I know that's a long answer, but I think it comes down to individually you having conversation with your pharmacist, or if you want to give us a call, we can provide a service to go over that with you and to really drill down to, hey, here's the risks, here's how often this happens, here's what the benefits are. For you personally, do those benefits outweigh those risks, or do you want to look for an alternative to mitigate those risks altogether? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, and I really appreciate the answer. It's because they often don't say, like, okay, there's a risk of fatal kidney disease, but it only happens like 1% of the time. It's hard for a lay person to figure out the weight of the risk.
Exactly. So, yeah, I don't think we do a good enough job in healthcare. I think a lot of that comes down to the time constraints that everyone's under, like in the insurance-based system, and you're almost treated like a number rather than, like the person in front of you. That's what we try to do, is to go over that with you and ask and answer all those questions. And I know Julia, she can probably even speak to, again, how those risks start to increase as you get older and how that's one of the things that we want to do is really take a look at those as you get older and ask, do you need to be on these?
Yeah, I think the other thing that you mentioned that I think is important for people to keep in mind is that like when these, advertisements or whatever list all these side effects, they have to list every side effect that occurred in the trials, right? Whether it was one patient or it was 500. And so your point to like what is the prevalence of these side effects, and also like, is it a side effect that's reversible or that will cause irreversible damage? Like that's an important consideration. And then, what's the risk of the condition going untreated? And then to Brandon's point about like the deprescribing, we talk about people get on medications as they get older, and often more and more medications. And so one of the things that we've been looking at is, are patients on medications that are actually like treating a side effect of another medication that they're on?
Happens a lot.
Yeah, and so like could we just reassess the first medication to see if there's an alternative that would prevent that side effect, so that we don't have to then go and treat the side effect. So then you're still on one medication instead of, 3 or 4 that are just compounding on each other.
That's great information, and our approach is, if we have a question about medicine, we really don't ask our doctor. We like our doctor, but we ask the pharmacist. So, would it be possible for me to stop down sometime? I admit I live out in Ohio. I've never been to your place, and go over certain medications that I'm on or that my doctor wants me to take, that we have questions about these side effects. Could I stop down and get like a consult?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so you can either call us or anybody can go on our website, fwdrx.com. We actually have them listed there as med wellness visits that you could schedule with one of our pharmacists to go over. The kind of what you're talking about would be an initial comprehensive medication review, be a full sit down, up to an hour session with the pharmacist. We charge non-members for that full hour. I believe it's $185. However, we offer that free once a year to members. So if you were to become a member for $60 for the year, you always get that one-time sit down with the pharmacist to go over your medications free every year.
Great information. This is a concern of a lot of people, and like you said, you stop into your normal pharmacy and they're so busy, and you almost hate to say, hey, can you take time to go over like my medicines and the benefits and negatives and stuff. So I appreciate the information. It's always very good information you put out, and I appreciate you coming on and informing the public.
Thanks, Tom. Yep, it's a pleasure.
All right,
Thanks
buddy.
for the call.
Let me know if you want me to go with you. I'll introduce you to Brandon, okay?
Yeah, we're going to do that, definitely.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Thank you both. Thank all of you. Bye-bye.
Bye. That's it already.
That's it.
Yeah.
11.
Julia, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, thanks
I'm
for
checking
having me
on you Friday. I want to know which one you liked the most, whether it was the chili and cheese or the cheese, or what kind you had. and
Maybe
what
I'll
you
have to
thought
get
about
one
it.
of both and taste test them all.
There you go.
More chili and onion for me.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure meeting you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Definitely for hopefully great future ahead for you. So, and you're hanging out with a pretty cool guy too. So you have it going good.
Definitely.
Yep. Thanks.
All right, buddy. Well, I guess we'll see you next month, huh?
Yep.
We back to our normal spot next month?
Back to normal spot.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll have more questions and more answers and lots to talk about next month. So.
All right. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right, guys. Coming up next, it's Town Hall News, followed by NOAA and local news on Beaver County Radio.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas.